So there has been a recent rise of anti-Christianity on social media and in person that I've been noticing throughout the years. It has been increasing and increasing and increasing. Today we will be dissecting one reason why people hate Christians. Today we'll be going over three things: the homophobia of Christianity, the stereotypes related to Christianity, and why some of the hate is unwarranted towards Christianity. Now, to begin, first of all, let's discuss the homophobia of Christianity. First of all, just to get the big one out. A lot of people criticize Christianity and or attack Christianity for their homophobia. As you don't know, Christians have a past of being homophobic. Homosexuals were treated unfairly way back in the past. Homosexuality was seen as disgusting. It was seen as degenerate. It was seen as shameful to be homosexual. And for a long time, this has been the case until recent years, in which the LGBTQ has rose. And if a lot of people use Christianity's past of political incorrectness to go after Christianity and or to criticize Christianity. And I feel like a lot of it's unwarranted for many reasons, and that's because it's the past. Christians, sure, Christians have done a lot of things that people don't like, I understand, but to criticize someone for something they've done such a long time ago, at a point where they weren't even alive at the time, it's similar to attack. It's similar to like going after somebody for something their grandpa did. Like, their grandpa's dead already. Like, what do you want them to do? And I understand that in the past, Christians have done a lot of really bad things towards homosexuals, but I just feel like because we are judging the past with modernized values, I feel like it's completely unwarranted. Because it's good to criticize and look back and say, hey, Christians did a lot of bad things back in the day, but to go after them now for those old things is just terrible. Because I understand the Crusaders did a lot of bad things. I know that we did a lot of bad things to homosexuals and all this other stuff, but it's like, as I said before, we need to keep an open mind, because considering that times are changing extremely quickly, like what's considered bad 10 years ago is considered good today. And I just feel like we just need to slow down a little bit, and we need to relax, because I feel like things are ramping up too quickly, and people aren't having a time to think because of those significant changes that are happening in recent history, and it's not allowing people to actually just sit down and breathe, because I feel like a lot of Christian values don't align with the political correctness of today. And I feel like we need to calm down a bit, and we need to sort things out, because even today we live in such uncertainty of the modern world that we just need to calm down a bit, as I said before. And I feel like going after Christians is unwarranted, because Christians, at least today, have barely done anything towards LGBTQ which is considered harmful, especially considering that there's other people or other bad actors out there in the world that could take it to an extreme, while Christians do not. Like, if you look into the Middle East, you have Pakistanians killing gay people for being gay. You see them hanging them in nooses. You see them beheading gay people. And I don't see as to why people go after those extremists or those people, but they don't go after them, but they go after us, which is just Christians, and I find it really hypocritical, because if you don't like Christians because of their previous past of homophobia, then why don't you go after the people that are being homophobic now? It's unwarranted, because you have people in Asia who beat up their kids, who outlaw their kids. Like, in some cases, people completely shun kids from their entire family for being gay in China, or just in Asia in the Middle East. You stone gays to death. But then you go after the Christians who are just praying in church. I find it really confusing. because I understand Christians aren't perfect. Christians are definitely not perfect, but there's such much bigger problems in the world related to the homosexuals, that going after Christians and only Christians, or at least going after Christians in the majority, is just completely unnecessary, and you're ignoring the bigger problem that's going on in the world. And I feel like that's one of the biggest unnecessary hates that's going on to Christianity. People, when people think of Christianity nowadays, they think of homophobia, they think of hatred, they think of God or Jesus and stuff like that, you know. And I feel like because people are too hyper focusing on what Christians do, they're not focusing on the bad doings of others. And even then, Christians don't do that bad, and I'll get into that later in this video. And to emphasize this a bit more, I would like to get into stereotypes. You know, I feel like a lot of people use Christian stereotypes to justify going after Christians. Like there are stereotypes of Christians sending their kids to military boot camp for being gay. You have stereotypes of Christians beating kids for being gay, similar to what people in Asia do. And we have stereotypes of Christians shunning their kids for being gay, or just taking them to gay conversion therapy camps, you know. Like they would take their kids and send them to gay conversion therapy. These are like often associated with stereotypes that people would do with Christians. People would stereotype Christians like these things, you know. People, and because of these stereotypes, people would use these stereotypes to justify going after Christians. People would naturally just develop a hatred for Christians because of these stereotypes. And I feel like this is incredibly bad, and this is incredibly dangerous, because if you look at other in history, the exact same thing happened with other groups, like Africans. In Europe, a long time ago, they saw Africans as barbaric. They saw them as savages. They saw them as disgusting and uncleanly people. And because of that, people use these stereotypes to hunt down Africans, to attack Africans, to enslave Africans. And I feel like that this is not okay. So why are people doing the same thing for Christians? People are using stereotypes of Christians being hateful. People are using examples of Christians being disgusting, like as in like child molesters, like the stereotype of priests molesting children, you know, and all this other stuff. And I feel like people are getting these stereotypes, and they're using these stereotypes to hate on Christians, similar to how other people use some other stereotypes in history to go after others. And I feel like that this is a cycle that we need to stop, and we need to stop it now, because it's getting worse and worse and worse, and it's gotten to the point where it has affected me personally. I have a friend who told me that last year in English class, he was made fun of, he was made a mockery of, and he was judged for being Christian because he had strong beliefs in the Bible, and the English teacher didn't like that because he said that the Bible was bad because it didn't like homosexuals. And because of that, the teacher used it to go after my friend. They basically made a mockery of my friend for being a Christian. They made a mockery of the Bible, and I feel like it's disgusting. And thank God the teacher got fired. This year they got fired, and I feel like that's a really good thing. But they weren't. I don't think they were fired for the anti-Christian thing. It's because they also mistreated my friend before, because my friend was going through something, and it was a medical reason. And the teacher didn't care. They kept assigning him assignments, and because he couldn't do them because he was going through crucial medical procedures, um, he couldn't do them, and so he complained to the school, and then shortly after she got fired. But I feel like that was the reason, not the anti-Christian part. And I feel like this is really bad because people are basically mocking people for being Christian. People are making a mockery of religious values that Christians hold. And I feel like it's not okay, because if you got this to any other religion, if you did this to any other religion out there, I feel like people would hate you for that. Like if you went to a Muslim in a class and you said that the Quran was nothing and that Muhammad was dumb and that Muhammad was a false prophet, you would be, that's terrible to say to a Muslim. That's terrible to say to anyone, period, and of any religion. So I wonder as of how people think it's okay to laugh at Christians, but like if it comes to another religion, it's not okay. Because I guarantee you, if my friend was not a Christian, if he was a Muslim, or if he was any other religion, he wouldn't have faced such scrutiny from in the English classroom that he was in. And I feel like that this is not okay, and that people are using stereotypes, people using bad faith arguments against Christians to attack them. And I feel like that this is not okay, as I said before, and that we need to stop using Christian stereotypes to go after people. Because I feel like this is one of the biggest hatreds that people have for Christians. It's because the media tells you that Christians are bad because of the Bible, or because of things they've done in the past, or because of certain Bible scripture, or even just stereotypes of themselves, of the actions of Christians who've done long, long ago. And people would use these examples, these cherry-picked examples, to be mad at Christians. And then over the years, it has grown and grown and grown, and now you have it where people are going after Christians, either on social media, either in person, like my friend experienced, or in other cases where you'd have people going into churches, protesting, disrupting the churches from the religious practices. And I find it really bad, and that we need to stop this now before it gets worse. Here comes the last segment of this video, which is why Christianity isn't as bad as people think. And I feel like this is important to highlight because if you're someone who just has a natural hatred for Christianity because of the things I've described, of like their past or Bible scripture or anything, I feel like because of that, people are just really blinded by the hate, or people are just like really too hyper focused on proving Christians bad or wrong. And so I want to highlight a little bit of good positive things that Christianity, or just religion as a whole, helps the world, and it helps everybody really. Like if you look way back in history, actually, towards the 18th, 17th century, and even way before too, Christians in the churches, they would take orphans in, they would take kids in, and they would give them educations. You know, like if a parent didn't have the resources to have a child, and they couldn't give it to a family member or anybody, they could always give it to the church, and that orphan would be raised in the church, in a Christian church. They'll be fed, they'd be given a free education, they'd be given food and water, they'd be given opportunities, and this is all just for the sake of heart, you know. Christians, it doesn't matter who you are, white, black, Hispanic, it doesn't matter if you're a criminal, it doesn't matter who you are, you know. In the end, if you need help, you can always go to a church, and they would always help you, you know, in any way they can. You know, the churches, they feed the homeless, they take in the homeless, they take in orphans, they feed orphans, they give kids education when they need it. And especially in today's, in the modern world, I understand that every kid has a free education. Public schools existed, but in times way back in the day of the 17th century, even 18th century, most kids didn't have education. The most they would get taught was from their mom and dad, you know, because education was expensive, and even then there weren't even that many schools. And because of that, the churches would be there to give those kids the education they needed. You know, if Christians aren't hateful people, Christians aren't disgusting people, Christians aren't evil, you know, Christians are just religious people who want to help each other, who want to help their community. And I understand that people don't like Christians, and they have their biases against Christians. But just know, regardless, Christians help the world. They feed the homeless. They give refuge to the people who need it. They even take in homeless. They feed the homeless. And if you ever need help, if you're ever in a position where you really need help, you can always go to a church and they would help you. They would give you money. If you got evicted from your house, they would let you stay there for a little bit. You know, they would feed you, they would help you get a job. It doesn't matter what you need or what kind of help you're having. I mean, it doesn't matter what you need or what your problems are. They would always help you in some sort of way. And that's why it's important to highlight the good of Christianity. I understand that people can be critical, but you have to acknowledge that some of this hate, some of these things that Christians are getting are just unjustified, and that Christians have done a lot for the world, good or bad, but mainly good, at least in my opinion. And I feel like that we need to stop and think for a bit before things get worse, because online I see increasingly and increasingly more of people demeaning Christians, people going after Christians, people outright calling Christians evil people. I've seen it online, I've seen it in person, and it needs to stop. This is one reason that of the rise of the anti-Christian movement, and I plan on making a lot more later. But yeah, thank you for watching, and bye.